Well, I have a confession to make. I love gas stations. And I don't mean to brag or anything, but I went to one today. They have all my favorite sodas and snacks and so forth. And in the South, we have a secret. You can get a hot, delicious meal right in the gas station. What do you think of that? I didn't say it was healthy. Speaking of unhealthy, thanks to a now infamous loophole in the 2018 federal farm bill, you can also now purchase unregulated, synthetic, cannabis-based products right in the gas station. Things with names like Delta 8, THCP, THCO, and the list goes on. Now, I'm a pharmacist, and I was always very happy going to the gas station to get my beloved chicken on a stick and a few JoJo's a couple of times a week. But now I'm having to leer behind the counter to see what these products are. What are in these products? Who are they being sold to? What are they being used for? So I set out on a mission to figure that out. And I did figure that out. And what happened was I learned that these products are highly intoxicating. They are often adulterated with impurities. And our university actually published a study that proved this point. These products have a real effect on the brain and body. And they really aren't made for speed and convenience like a gas station setting, because there's very little guidance and there's very little oversight on who's buying the products and what they're using them for. They carry real risk. And so that led me to really think about how we address this problem. More questions than answers was what was occurring. And so I was left with a lot of questions, because now in the gas station, you can not only buy a real banana pudding, but you can buy a banana pudding flavored cannabis vape, for instance. So this disconnect was just impossible to ignore. At the same time that this was occurring, this explosion of all these products, another shift was happening throughout the country. 39 states have now legalized cannabis in some form or another, be it medical, adult use, or a combination of the two. And this is a regulated program. So state health agencies oversee these programs, and they make sure that these products are tested for quality, purity, and potency. Very different from this gas station and convenience store setting. So now we have a whole new industry in a lot of states that have these programs. We have cultivators who grow the plants, who then send the plant material to processors who actually make the actual products. Importantly, we have testing laboratories that are third-party, independent, to reduce bias of any kind. And then obviously we have dispensaries, which you may have seen, have really cropped up over the years. And so this is a regulated ecosystem designed to protect the patient. So now what we see is a parallel marketplace. We basically have unregulated versus regulated. And our own state poison control center has told us, and as well as the CDC has reported this as well, that they have received a lot of reports of negative adverse events that have happened based on some of these products. And I'll give you an example. So a child will take a gummy that has cannabis, and they think it's a piece of candy, and they end up in the ER, for instance. So there's just a lot of confusion here. What's legal? What's regulated? What's safe? What do these products cost? What's affordable? And very importantly, access to all kinds of cannabis products has outpaced understanding of what they are. And two very important points. Availability does not equal safety, and legality does not equal evidence. Truly uncharted territory we're in. Now, as part of my role as director of the Cannabis Research and Education Center here at Ole Miss, we are charged with a fairly straightforward but challenging mission, and that is to generate and disseminate credible information about the benefits, risk, and real-world application of these regulated products. When we talk about research, many times we are talking about the laboratory setting or a clinical trial environment where a patient receives a drug and a placebo to see if it's efficacious and safe. But there's another kind of research called real-world evidence or patient outcomes research. And in those kind of studies, we don't administer drugs to those patients. They're already taking them. And so we ask a variety of questions. What products are you taking? So there are a lot of different formulations. There are oral preparations, solutions, gummies, and so forth, inhalables like vapes, topicals. We ask them, how often are you taking these products? Are you getting any benefit out of them? Do you have any side effects? How accessible are the products to you in the area in which you live? And how much do they cost you per month? So all of those questions we ask in this real-world evidence type research. And at the end of last year, our center actually completed the first study of this kind in our state, where we took and recruited and enrolled 300 patients in the Mississippi Medical Cannabis Program, and we asked them these questions. And I think the results are interesting, and I'd like to share some of those results with you. So 60% of the patients reported taking these products for over a year. That means they're not weekend experimenters. They're actually taking these on a long-term basis. About 90% of the patients had used some form of cannabis prior to enrolling in the medical program. So the medical cannabis program in our state did not drive demand for patients using cannabis products. About 75% of the patients reported using these products daily. So they're taking these products as part of their routine medical care alongside blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, insulin, and so forth. And lastly, from our study, we also looked at quality of life data. And we asked patients a variety of questions that scored from 0 to 100, 100 being the highest possible score. And on average, in our study, the patients reported an average score of over 80 out of 100. To put that into context, anything less than 50 means that the patient's not doing so well or they're depressed. Now, these patients are using these products to live normal lives, to parent, to work, to exercise. All the activities of daily living, these products are helping them. I know a lot of times when we hear the term cannabis or marijuana, for that matter, over the years, we hear one of two extremes. So you have, it's either a miracle cure that's good for any medical condition. The other extreme being, it's a public menace that should not be available to anyone. You should go to jail if you're caught with it. So what we found is the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Patients are using these products to help improve their sleep, to help reduce anxiety with conditions like post-traumatic stress disorder, and to alleviate pain, instead of maybe using more addictive narcotic agents like opioids and others. Now, this type of research is not meant or intended to replace those gold standard clinical trials, but it does help complement that data. And then we can use this data to inform several important groups of people. The first being healthcare providers, physicians, nurses, and pharmacists. They need education on how cannabis products are affecting their patients. They need to be able to make knowledgeable, thoughtful, and ethical decisions to help their patients. Because it's not whether cannabis is part of their treatment regimen at this point. A lot of patients are on these products, so they need to know the ins and outs of these products. And then also, of course, patients are important. We have to also educate patients because they deserve messaging and information that goes beyond fear and beyond marketing, those extremes. Finally, policymakers are very important. We can use this information to inform and help shape policy. Many of you may have heard that the federal government is considering rescheduling cannabis from the most strict schedule, that being Schedule 1. Now that means if the drug is in Schedule 1, that means it has no medical benefit and is illicit. Drugs like PCP and heroin. To a Schedule 3. So from a 1, the most restrictive, to a more lenient schedule, Schedule 3. This will really reduce barriers to research and ultimately lead to more product development for cannabis products so patients and physicians can have more choice for patients who may not be getting their medical conditions treated properly with traditional pharmaceutical products. So now, all that needs to happen is for the stars and planets to align and everything come together perfectly and we figure this out and it's easy. Of course, that's not reality. We have to be able to pivot at a moment's notice and navigate the nuances of the legal, regulatory, and industry landscape. I feel that if we focus with clarity, we can really make a meaningful impact, however. For the record, I still love gas stations. As a matter of fact, you could probably find me at one after the talk tonight. But I just don't think it's appropriate to purchase medications there. I think patients and consumers deserve more than convenience. They deserve education, they deserve evidence, and they deserve transparency. And I feel that that's where our center and other centers like ours across the country can really play a crucial role and make a very meaningful impact. Thank you.